Ooh. Now, how do you do this? Are you on YouTube right now?
We are live.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to the Monday Night Live. This time we are coming to you from inside of the camper.
From Culver City, Oregon. Oh, just Culver. Sorry.
Yeah, Culver City makes it sound like the yeah. Okay, I think we're back. So we're coming to you live from the KOA in Culver, Oregon. Yeah, you lost me for a minute. I should be back. We turned off all the other devices in the trailer. The nice thing is, if we would have tried to do this yesterday, I don't think it would have happened. Now, we do have the Wi-Fi tower, 4 sites.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 sites up.
4 sites from us is the Wi-Fi tower, and it's saying we're getting good Wi-Fi. Hopefully, it holds up. So,
Our Epic RV.
so welcome in Michael and Shelley from our Epic RV.
Hello.
John from RV Traveling MIA Researcher. Artist on the Road, good to see you. Who else is here? Full Time Dream is here. And we appreciate you coming over from the RV Kids premiere from Gettysburg. And I tell you, if you've never been to Gettysburg, you should go. It is a fantastic place to spend a month. If you're going to think you're going to see it all in a day, you're not. You're not going to do your Jen Jewel is watching.
Jewel, and she's right there.
And Jen Jewel is watching from right there in the campground.
You can come over, Jen.
Blake from New Vision Security, good to see you, brother. And
oh shoot.
Anyway, back to kind of Gettysburg, and we're going to tie all this into Memorial Day, because that is what today is. And so today we honor those that paid the ultimate sacrifice earlier today, and it might just be, what are you doing?
I'm trying to see who else is on here.
You're all cut up. Oh, Scott Jacobs, welcome in. I didn't see you. Yeah, that's it. Oh, Mel Netty Living
RV Traveling.
We're gonna have to come up with an acronym for that. MNLFSZQ. Anyway, I lost track of what we were talking about. Memorial Day. It's really weird because Memorial Day we typically go up to Willamette National Cemetery and we help put the flags up on all of the 140,000 headstones there at Willamette National. This year, because of the plague, they've closed that down, and not because they don't want flags on the graves. Apparently, you can't say the C word. I don't know.
The C19.
Yeah.
Oh.
But because of all that, they're trying to reduce the amount of people that are up in the cemetery. And where are you going with that?
Well, I'm way over here and you're way over there.
How's that better? Okay. So, and the problem isn't really people up there. The problem is the VA that the VA employees that operate the cemetery. They've gone down to a very minimal staffing, and essentially they're cutting the grass and doing burials. And so, typically there's a flag on every headstone, and this year they don't have the staffing to put them all away. So they've asked that people not come up and do that unless you're doing it individually. Now I do know that there's some friends of mine that went up and they did, like a row or whatever, and they're going to go up later this week and take them down. So we're not up there, and so this year we decided to stay a week down here in Culver at the KOA, and we're going to go from here. 20 minutes to our north is a reservoir that's on a dam at Lake Semetussis, operated by PGE, and we're going to stay there for the weekend and then go home. So we are here for the rest of the week. We got here Friday, and Central Oregon has opted to open, and they're kind of maintaining the governor's directive on phases and whatnot, but to drive around through Redmond and whatnot, it really looks like business as usual. And in fact, we went into Redmond Saturday. When did we go have a hamburger? Saturday, yeah. And there were actually people on the corners holding up signs thanking people for coming in and helping out their economy and getting Central Oregon back on its feet again. So we're happy to help, and we're doing all the necessary things that any adult should do, like brush your teeth and comb your hair, wash your hands, and not cough on people, and not spread cooties or anything. So we're doing that, and I'm not making light of the 0.003%, 0.003% that this has really hurt. It's tragic when anybody passes away, but anyway, it is what it is, and here we are. So we're enjoying a very beautiful week down here. The weather's been gorgeous until today. We got
a little
some
bit of
sprinkles,
rain. Yeah.
But it's nice because after everybody checked out for the Memorial Day weekend, they came through and cut the grass, and then it rained, so it's helping my allergies. The rain kind of kept all the grass and all that down. But I do want to take some time tonight and share some thoughts. Wow, we lost everybody. There's only 7 people watching. I guess that's fine.
We only had 8.
Yeah, there was like 11 at one point, but that's okay.
I didn't see.
It's like our subscriber count. It's just
it's okay.
As soon as you talk about COVID, everybody jumped ship because they, anyway. I guess the last thing I'll say about that is everybody has an opinion, and I have mine. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. I'll listen to yours. We don't have to agree. We have to listen. And that's what's called being an adult. And if that offends you, so be it. Then be offended. I really, I don't care.
Okay, let's get on.
But that has everything to do with Memorial Day because today we honor those men and women that paid the ultimate price for me to have an opinion on COVID. And they are the same people that gave you the freedom to have an opinion on anything you want. They're the ones that give you the ability to get on YouTube and have a channel and express your opinion, have your voice. Um, I'm a firm believer in the Constitution of the United States. And there was a day back when I was, 17 and a half years old, going in on the delayed entry program, that I raised my right hand and I swore to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. I did not swear to uphold and defend a politician or a political party, but I swore to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and obey the orders of the officers appointed above me. And that doesn't always translate to elected officials. Um, so, other than the commander in chief. So, anyway, Memorial Day has lots of different meanings to a lot of us, and to a lot of Americans, it's a 3-day weekend, and I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I think you should have a 3-day weekend. All of those men and women would want you to have the 3-day weekend. Um, it's what they fought for, and so celebrate, but take some time to honor those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. I am a very fortunate person in that I did exactly what my country asked me to do, and I got banged up a little bit, but I got to come home and tell the story and have my opinion. There's a lot of others that we brought home, um, and they didn't get to have a final hug or a final kiss or you know that final handshake with their dad or something. And so today that's where we're at. We're honoring those men and women that we brought home from the battlefield, um, and they are in turn forever and forever in our memory. Um, we have a saying in military circles, um, of never forgotten, which sounds like semantics, but where a lot of civilian folks say never forget, um, that implies that we should just remember them. But when they're never forgotten, that means that they are absolutely never out of our mind. It's not just a 1-day flag waving, feel good and say thank you event for a lot of us. A lot of us, it is absolutely um, never ever forgotten. And so uh, I wear a bracelet like a lot of veterans do and a lot of service members do. And some of them are black and some of them are silver and some of them are red. Um, and some of them are gold. The color really doesn't matter. It's what's on it. And I'll take this off, but I really do. If I could get it off.
Want some help?
Ah. I don't know if that's focusing or not. It's not. Anyway, the name on this bracelet is Sergeant Nathaniel Bradley Lindsay. And he died September 6th of 2006. Huh? September 9th of 2006, and he was a good friend of mine. In fact, I'll tell you the story about Brad Lindsay. So Brad Lindsay was in the Navy, and he did 4 years in the Navy and got out of the Navy and wanted to continue serving his country. So he joined the Army, and he was assigned uh, to my platoon when I was a platoon sergeant. And Brad Lindsay went to because he was prior service, he didn't have to go to basic training again, but he did have to go to advanced training, and he became an infantryman in the Army. And Brad Lindsay was a sponge, and he wanted to know everything there was to know about being an infantryman. So I told him, I said, well, I tell you what, if you really want to learn, um, then I'm going to assign you as the radio operator for our platoon. And that way you can be privy to all the conversations. You'll get to know kind of the tactical and the technical side of, being in an infantry platoon. And then one day when you become a team leader and a squad leader, you'll have a better understanding of the big picture. And he did his time as the RTO, and we taught him. And then he became a machine gunner and moved his way up, and eventually became a sergeant. And for a time, he went later became a sergeant major, and he was assigned again to our battalion, and he became my driver. The commander and I's driver, we kind of shared him. And Brad Lindsay served honorably, just a phenomenal soldier, just a great soldier, and the kind of guy that would never flinch uh, at any task. And he wasn't Rambo or anything. He was just just a soldier, just like 99.999%. They're out there. Well, we did our tours in Iraq, and came home, and I was reassigned, and I retired in 2005. And sometime shortly after I retired, I received a phone call from Sergeant Lindsay, and he was looking for advice. And Sergeant Lindsay um, was kind of in the window for promotion, but he wasn't there yet. And he said he could take an assignment, but if he took that assignment, he would be going to Afghanistan. If he didn't take the assignment, he would stay where he was. And he had just had their baby girl, right?
She was
little.
She was like 4.
Okay, so she was real
4
real
or
little.
5. Oh, she was in first grade, so she was 6.
Okay, it seemed to me that she was littler. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I told Lindsay, I said, listen, you're a great soldier, and the decision is up to you, but you've deployed. You've done your part. Staying home for your kids is a good choice also. Nobody's going to look down on you. Nobody's going to, say that you ran away from your duty or anything. Well, he called me back a couple of days later, and he said he was going to take that squad leader job and wait for the promotion, and go to Afghanistan. And he went to Afghanistan, and I think it was only a short time into the deployment that they were on a convoy, and their convoy was ambushed, and Sergeant Lindsay was a squad leader and was at the head of the column in the turret of he was the second vehicle, and he was in the turret, basically directing the fire once the ambush started. And he was killed by uh, enemy small arms fire in the turret of that Humvee during that ambush, and sent home. And it was um, it was something else. I mean, it's something that you never expect. Um, as a soldier, I guess you do expect it because that's the nature of our business. But you don't expect it to be somebody that's close, somebody that's, you know, had asked for your advice, you know, and a soldier that was on his third combat tour. And anyway, so every single day, um, he's never forgotten. We think about him every single day because there's never a day that I don't do something with my right hand because I'm right-handed. I wear it on my right hand too because that is the hand of that we render honors with, so that when we do salute, uh, that shiny silver thing is right in the corner of my eye. So I remember uh, Brad Lindsay. Anyway, so that's the story of Memorial Day for me. Uh, Him and others, I've had many of my friends that were uh, over my 21-year career that I've known that were killed in the line of in combat, not necessarily in the line of duty. I've had some that were killed during peacetime from accidents and whatnot, but um, which is no less important. Um, but it's those combat casualties that I often think about because of my time, um, serving, and the combat tours that I did. So again, I celebrate. I think it's great to celebrate. Um, I think we need to remember, all these folks and pick a name. And I'm sure that there's somebody from somebody's family that that got on an airplane and didn't come home. Well, they came home on the airplane, but they didn't come home, riding in first class. That's for sure. Um, I come from generations of soldiers. My dad served 24 years in the Army. He served in Vietnam. And then after, until he retired in 1987, my grandfather served in the Army in World War II and served in the European theater. And I have uncles and great uncles that all served in both the Second World War, Korea, and Vietnam. And then my service culminating with Iraq, and then our son, who served as an infantryman also with the 10th Mountain Division, and he served one tour with Operation Enduring Resolve, Inherent Resolve, Operation Inherent Resolve in Iraq, which is really weird when your son calls you and says, "Hey, Dad, have you ever been to this place?" And you look at the map and, yeah, I've been there. I tell him, "John, keep your head down." Um, Luckily, during his tour, it was relatively peaceful, and nobody lost their life in on his tour. So anyway,
Barefoot.
Barefoot
Adventures.
Adventure, welcome in. And I also saw, I thought I saw Paul. Roy and Becky's Travel. Yeah, I saw Paul. Paul from RV Reviews by the Air Force guy. Welcome in. Just kind of talking about Memorial Day and the big difference of how we process Memorial Day. I remember growing up as a kid. Memorial Day was always something that was a part of our life that we always spent in reverence, remembering the in our community, the soldiers. I had the pleasure of being a kid in elementary school. We lived at Fort Myer at Arlington Cemetery. Literally, my bedroom window looked out over Arlington Cemetery, and my dad was stationed in Military District of Washington, and so we spent every Memorial Day, in Arlington Cemetery or whatever Army post we were assigned to. We always spent, putting flags up and going to services and all of that. So it was never about anything other than that for me growing up. How about you? You got anything? Or you just gonna sit and look pretty?
Just no, not really. I don't remember doing a whole lot. Just celebrating on the day.
Yeah. Well, having been a good Army wife for many years.
What did your mom do?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Teresa's had to, go listen to, Three Volleys and, a lot of those things. So it's just something that even raising our kids, it was never about anything other than, memorializing, those guys that that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I think that there's a lot of people that, and I hope I'm wrong. I think there's a lot of people that may, conceptually, I think that everybody understands that these young people and older people that go off to do what the country asks them to do. Yeah, it's their job. Yeah, they get paid to do it. And so from the military side of things, it's tragic, but at the same time, it's what we sign up for. And I remember right before we left for Iraq, and this soldier showed up with his mom and knocked on the door and said, "Sergeant Major, I'd like to use the open door policy." And sure, come on in. And he came in and introduced me to his mom, and a very pleasant lady. And she said, "My son can't go to war." And I said, "Well, that's interesting. I'm sure my mom would say the same thing." But she said that, "No, you don't understand. My son is a conscientious objector." Well, in 1975, the United States military became an all volunteer force. So logically, there can't be conscientious objectors anymore because you joined us, the military didn't join you. And so we talked about faith, and we talked about, battles throughout history where, when we consider ourselves to be on the side of right, and God certainly picks a side, I think. Might not be a popular opinion, but I'm going with it. Um, and she said, well, he joined thinking that we were never going to war again. He just joined for the college money. And I said, well, it's time to pay for college. And he told me flat out that he would not fight. And I said, oh, well, you don't have to fight, but you're going, because if I have to go, everybody has to go. And I'm sure this one right here didn't want me to go, but it was my job. And when the call came,
No, that's what you had trained to do. It was your job.
that's right. So anyway, this soldier opted not to. He wasn't gonna fight. And I reminded him that those of us in the military, and there's folks in the room that will attest to this, people in the military, they don't fight for the waving flag and, you know, apple pie and, and all of those ideals. They fight for the guys to their left and right, the men and women that are serving alongside, because really, when the bullets start flying, that's all that matters. Aside from the flag that's sewn onto your shirt or velcroed to your shirt, you're not really thinking about home at that moment. And so I counseled the soldier and I told him that I was going to reassign him, and we made him our chaplain's assistant, our chaplain's aide. And he became the fighting chaplain's aide. And we were out on a uh, logistics patrol, meaning we drove up to the Baghdad airport and we were getting resupplies on food and water. And the chaplain went up because they were having a meeting of chaplains up there at BIAP. And so the chaplain's aide obviously had to go with him. And we got into a fight with some insurgents. And this dude jumped out and kicked some ass. And I mean, we ended up awarding him the Army Commendation Medal with Valor. And I mean, I talked to him afterwards and I said, okay, you said you weren't going to fight. And he said it was my duty to protect the chaplain. And I said, I told you so. At that point, that's all you could say. Congratulated him and just became an outstanding soldier once he could wrap his head around why we fight. And once he got it. He did well. So anyway, that's Memorial Day, and I'm kind of rambling. I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come in and talk about your Memorial Day or whatever. We got about 28 minutes left. I don't know if anybody's coming in after me, but there you are. If anybody would like to come in to talk about Memorial Day, I'm glad that the Wi-Fi's working here at the KOA. We're just having a phenomenal week out here. I mean, we've only been here for a couple of days, but we're here until
it's supposed to get like in the upper 80s and 90s.
Yeah, we brought the kayaks. There's a reservoir 1.3 miles just to the east of us here, and really hoping that I'm going to get out maybe tomorrow, go down to the reservoir, take the kayaks out. So there's the link. If anybody'd like to come in, it's open mic night from the KOA. RV Traveler, good. You're up after me. Good. Then we will not go over. And John, if you want to come in, hit the button. But my dad, once he retired, in the Portland community, he got very active with Vietnam Veterans of America, and anyway, they put up a really cool Vietnam memorial in what's the name of that park up there? Washington Park.
Yeah, yeah, by the zoo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Washington Park. Just a really cool, and he was on the board and all that for that, and so we did a lot of stuff up there every year. We went up there. One year I went up there, and it was shortly after I retired. Yeah, it was because I had come back from Iraq, and I was wearing something with my Ninth Regiment on it, and there was this old guy, and he was standing at the entrance handing out the little programs. And he says, "Hey, Manchu," and he was a Manchu from the Korean War. And I'll bring both of you in. John and Michael are both in, so Michael's in, John's in. I'll make you guys bigger here or smaller.
I'm already too big. I don't need to be made bigger.
Yeah,
Hey, how you doing?
doing good. So again, I mean, you guys have been here since the beginning. We just basically talked about Memorial Day, and everybody.
He's got his.
Yep. Man, I tell you what, taking it off to show the camera was the first time I've had this off.
Well, since your surgery.
Yeah, since my surgery in December.
But before that, I don't think you.
And because they made me take it off up at the VA hospital, because I guess it's got cooties on it or something, and they didn't want it to get in. So anyway, I know Michael just put out a really cool deal yesterday about Memorial Day. Really great premiere, and thoroughly enjoyed that. And I know, John, that's basically your life's work.
Yeah, pretty much every day is Memorial Day.
Right. Well, same here, but I mean, just,
Yep.
Yeah, it's something that's near and dear to your heart because, unlike a single event, a funeral or, Veterans Day, Memorial Day services up at cemeteries, where people are going up to honor those brothers and sisters. Yeah, you're providing more closure than just a flag on a headstone, and that's outstanding. Yeah, I don't know that I would have the emotional capacity to do that. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, I get tears in my eyes all the time. I'll tell you that, and especially on Michael's video yesterday, he had me almost bawling like a baby.
Yeah,
So,
loving your shirt too.
oh, thank you.
Well,
Oh,
you can't really see it, but my shirt was actually a 5K run for in remembrance of the fallen Air Force air advisors. A major that I used to work for, he deployed to Iraq and was killed by an IED there 15 years ago, and so unfortunately, there's a lot of us that have connections to this weekend.
Exactly. I have a very, very special place, and we've said it before. We're allowed to poke fun at each other, but I have an absolute special place in my heart for those L&Os that go out there with infantry companies. We had one that called in all of our close air support, and he was a major, and I don't know, he must have drawn the short straw to end up with an infantry battalion at the rank of a major, because usually they send like lieutenants and captains, but this guy was a major, and he pulled us out of a couple pickles, and And he was the cool thing about a lot of those guys, especially the A10 guys, they are directly assigned from the Air Force. They are directly assigned to an Army operational unit. So they're assigned to a division or a brigade, depending on what echelon is forward. And so we had some of those guys. Well, the cool part about that is they're all Air Force guys. Well, and a lot of people don't know this, but the A-10 pilots, they wear flight suits that match the Army uniform, because the Air Force camouflage pattern is different. And they will, what are you doing?
Well, Lance. Hi, Lance. He asked us how we're doing.
Well, you got to hit that little button right there first. Anyway, you can actually turn that. Anyway, these, and they wear the, doing go.
I know. Stop.
I thought I was the one with the concussion.
So the teacher can't spell, apparently, is what I'm seeing here.
She's
He
good.
bumped me, and so it was ooh.
Anyway, they wear the patch of the unit that they're supporting, and so it's kind of a skin in the game type of thing, that that they're with us, not just here to support us, but they know that the stakes are real high, and when they call in that bird, it's coming to usually bail us out of a jam. We never really call them in when the getting's good. But anyway, yeah, there's a special place in my heart for those guys. So, John, what do you think?
Well, here on my show here coming up here in a little bit, I'll be honoring a Navy corpsman, but the actual picture I have of him is in a Marine Corps uniform. He was killed in action in Iwo Jima, but yeah, he was actually wearing a Marine Corps uniform, but he was a Navy corpsman. So,
and all of the Navy corpsmen do that. They because the Marines.
Lance said for your service,
Service.
so he's not. I'm not the only one mistyping.
The Marines, they do not have organic medics. They have hospital folks, but they don't have like combat medics, and so they rely. The Marines don't, so they rely on the Navy to provide their corpsmen. And in fact, and the reason I know that is because her brother was a Navy corpsman and assigned to the Marine Reserve, wasn't he?
Oh, down in San Diego.
Yeah, and I guess he was assigned the Marines down there at Camp Pendleton, and so yeah, her brother was a corpsman. He did his what, 4 years or 3 years.
He did his
time and
got out.
And now he runs a nursery, growing trees and stuff. You don't have to, deal with blood and stuff. So, but yes, Navy corpsmen are great guys. Full-time dream. He's a Marine. You can't call them former Marines.
No, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Right. And most of them are more Marines after they get out than they were when they were in. So
yeah.
There's actually a guy, and I'm going to go next time I head towards Fort Bragg. I'll take pictures and share them with the group here. There's a guy pretty close to one of the back gates at Bragg. I think he was a Marine. I don't know. Help me out here. I mean, John, you're the private investigator here, so maybe you can help me decipher this. Okay, his house is red with gold trim.
Artillery or Marine?
Hang
I was
on.
thinking.
He literally has about 6 different outbuildings in his yard, and I think he has maybe a third of an acre, so it's not like some sprawling, plantation. And they're all painted the same color. I can see that there's a sign over one of them that says Semper Jim. and there's a Marine Corps flag flying. So I don't know. It could be a Marine.
Maybe
It's all
Semper
fine.
Jim's his nickname.
I don't know.
Well, you can always tell.
I know it's Scarlet and Gold, Full-Time Dream.
Scarlet and Gold.
Trust
You
me,
can
I
always-
knew. I grew up near Camp Lejeune or Camp Lejeune, however you want to call it, and Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. And my uncle was a retired master gunnery sergeant, Vietnam era. So,
Yeah.
trust me. And when I told him I was joining the Air Force, his only reply to that was, "Well, that's the best you could do." So,
I tell you, I joined the Army. My dad was stationed at Biggs Army Airfield, at Fort Bliss, Texas, in El Paso, and I went down onto Dyer Street to the Army recruiter and joined, and came home, and like most kids that are graduating from high school, my dad, so what's the plan? And I said, well, because you're a career soldier, you're not a millionaire, you're not sending me to college. So I joined the Army, and he said, really, what do you want to do? And I said, well, the recruiter told me that my ASVAB score was good enough to fall out of airplanes. And so I volunteered to jump out of airplanes, shoot, move, and communicate. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Yeah, be all you can be." that was pretty much it. After he stopped laughing, of course, he was like, "You, Army?" But it was one of those things that again, a long line of soldiers, and I'm glad that I got to be a part of that. So, okay, what else you guys got? Memorial Day, floor's yours. I've talked, and I'm not going to cry. I don't need the subs that bad.
Yeah.
Did I say it out loud?
I didn't say this during my video, but I'll go ahead and let you guys in. Towards the end of the video, I did a slideshow with a few pictures. I was in two of those pictures. I don't remember the order. One of those pictures, because I mentioned it in the when I was talking about it, I had the privilege of participating in our remains repatriation burial from Airman James Plyman, who was killed and was KIA for 30 years. And when his remains came back, we got to do that funeral. So one of those pictures is me as one of the pallbearers for that funeral. And another picture is me laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier about 4 or 5 years ago. I got to do that. Let's see, what was... And then there's another picture you saw of a bunch of really young-looking people in Air Force uniforms holding a wreath. That was my daughter. She was in Civil Air Patrol, and we got to go to Arlington National Cemetery one year to participate in Wreaths Across America and lay wreaths all over the cemetery. And for those of you who don't know what Wreaths Across America is, it was an organization that was founded with their goal was to lay a wreath at every eligible headstone at Arlington National Cemetery. But it went nationwide, and pretty much every cemetery participates this. I think it's the second weekend or first weekend in December, and they lay wreaths. And when I say every eligible one, they don't lay wreaths on like the tombs for those of Jewish heritage, for instance, since Christmas is not a Jewish holiday. So we got to go out there and we got to lay wreaths over. And the year we did it in 2014 was the first year that they finally made their goal. We laid a wreath on every single eligible tombstone at Arlington. And for those of you who've ever been to Arlington, that's a lot of tombstones.
That is
635 acres.
Yep, and growing
and growing.
unfortunately.
Hey,
No, that's
I was at Arlington last time I was in Arlington was in 2010. I had the opportunity to be a scout leader that took a troop back to the National Jamboree, and we spent a week touring DC. And so I actually had a friend of mine that we served way back in like 1984, 85 together. And he was a first sergeant at the Old Guard in 3rd U.S. Infantry. And I found him. I found him online. I went to the website for the Old Guard, and he was a first sergeant, one of the companies in the honor in the battalions that do all the honor stuff, and not the tomb guards, but they're so I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in DC. We're going to be at Arlington on this day." He said, "Give me a call." So I called him up. He said, "Hey, when you get to Arlington, have the bus divert, and I'll meet you at the gate that goes into Fort Myer." And so we ended up going to Fort Myer, and he jumped on the bus and took us all the way up into the cemetery. All the other buses went one way, and our bus went this way. And we got out of the bus, and this guy gave us a walking tour all the way down to the amphitheater and the tomb of the unknown. And for those of you that have never been to Arlington, it is a history lesson. It's not just a cemetery. I mean, you see like Blackjack Pershing, and the incredible thing is, and there's incredible monuments. And then you look at Blackjack Pershing, 5-star general, and he's buried in unless you're looking for his headstone, you'll never find it because it's a common soldier headstone. And he's surrounded by African American soldiers. Yep. And that was his request. And Blackjack Pershing, and we saw the Challenger has a monument there, and the Columbia has a monument, and of course JFK and then units have markers there honoring some of their fallen, and just really incredible. But it was great to, number one, see a buddy of mine, and then two, to have these kids. Most of them, it was the first time they'd ever been on an airplane, let alone go to Arlington Cemetery. And then to have them see the Vietnam Memorial and the Korean Memorial, and the Nurses Memorial there, and the World War II Monument, which I tell you, if you've never seen, that will humble you to see all those gold stars. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, what I really like doing is walking through the Korean War Memorial at night when they got the lights shining up on the on the men.
I don't know if I could handle that at night. It's an amazing place during the daytime, though.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's like, oh my Lord, it's amazing.
We did the Korean Memorial in the daytime, and we did it in the evening. The very first night we got to DC, we went to the Lincoln Memorial, so we went right to the Vietnam, and we got there, and I got the coolest, and I got to find it. I got the coolest picture of my son, and the statues on patrol are in the picture, and he's looking into that wall. Oh. And so the reflection, he's in the wall, and so are the soldiers behind him. And I showed it to him afterwards. This is my son that ended up going in and serving in the 10th Mountain. And I was like, check this out. And he goes, Dad, it's as if they are with us. And I said, because they are.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome.
And that is the reason that we have monuments and memorials. Whatever your leanings are politically, that is the reason we have these monuments and these memorials, because the day that we decide to rewrite history And the day that we decide to tear down, this because
Yep.
somebody gets butthurt over it, that's the day that we lose our past, and all of those people become forgotten.
Yes,
That's
sir.
true. Hey, Full Time Dream, when did you go to Lackland for MP school? Just
I'm
curious.
gonna swing out here and get ready for my live. So
Yeah,
All right, John,
get your
we'll,
makeup
we'll,
on.
we'll,
you,
we'll
you can
see you
keep
there.
going. It's gonna take me a few minutes, so you can keep going.
He's got to
Thank you
fix
for
his
having
hair and
me.
get his makeup on.
Yeah,
All right, you
that's
got
it.
5.
Fashionably late.
Yeah, I love. I got to spend some time with the Air Force Honor Guard, and years ago at Arlington in the DC area and stuff. It's just so cool. One thing I will say for those of you who go to, if you ever go to DC sightseeing, you can go to Arlington. It's free. It's a cemetery. It's free. They have tours. But also you can go to the Pentagon, and it's free, and they have tours. If you have a DoD ID card, active or retired, you can just walk in. You don't. I mean, there is no special thing. And in the inside the Pentagon's a museum unto itself. It really is. There's cool stuff all over the place. And the area where the plane hit on September 11th, they've turned into a chapel and memorial inside of the inside the Pentagon. You can go there and visit it. But if you go there and take place in one of the tour guides are actually honor guardsmen from whatever branch of the service. It's just luck of the draw. You can get a Coast Guardsman, you can get a soldier, Air Force, Navy, whatever. But these kids are the ones that'll lead you on your tour, and they got all kinds of cool stuff. I've overheard some of the stuff they talk about on the tours for. So do yourself a favor, if you're the least bit interested in military history, take a tour of the Pentagon the next time you go to DC, and do the tour on Arlington. Now, I've been lucky the times I've been to Arlington, I've just told the guy at the gate, I'm going here. And he said, okay. I've never had to park at the visitor parking and take the tour bus, which is nice. When I was talking earlier about doing the Civil Air Patrol thing, when we did that, we were setting it up because there was like 3 or 4 vans just in our little group. And the guy leading it says, now we're going to have to park. We're going to have to get there kind of early because we're going to have to park here. And then we're going to have to drag all this stuff to the Women's War Memorial. I'm like, why? He said, because you got to park in guest parking. I'm like, no. We're not parking in guest parking. We're parking up front. And so when we got there, that's what I did. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's
good too.
It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, it's not like I'm the only one who could do that. You could do it. Anybody with an ID card can do it.
If you ever go to the Pentagon, spend some time at the Pentagon Memorial.
Yep.
With the benches. It is another one of those sobering places that you just sit and think about what happened that day. I served under a officer that moved up up the chain, and his office was part of that wall that was destroyed. His office was actually in what became the hole. And he was in his office 6 minutes before the plane hit it. And he left his office and was on the other side of the Pentagon when the plane hit.
Wow.
And, came back and his office was gone. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Full Time Dream. Yeah, I was there in '87. That's why I was asking. So I was still just a child in '84.
Weren't we all?
Yeah, but my tech school and of course basic training is only in one spot for the Air Force. But so I spent almost a year at Lackland Air Force Base. My first year in the military was spent at Lackland. Love San Antonio. It's beautiful city. Too. And I never went back again until a year ago when my son-in-law graduated from basic training. My first time back, 30 some odd years. So
we were in San Antonio for an airborne reunion 2 years ago. yeah, 2 years ago, and yeah, just love that place. Fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't a medic, so I never had any business in San Antonio, and I'm glad that I never had to go there as a patient. Um, it is the biggest burn center in America, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I got to drop because I'm actually supposed to be on John's live stream.
yeah, me too, I think.
Okay. Well, bye.
He invited me. All right. Hey, everybody. Great to have you. Remember, don't ever forget, because our brothers and sisters are never forgotten. I thank you for spending an hour of your Memorial Day with us, and we will see you. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right.